June 23, 1757. Two armies face each other in a mango orchard under heavy rain. But before a single shot rings out, the outcome is already decided. The Battle of Plassey is won with silver and backroom deals, rather than steel. To understand how a corporation bought a battlefield, we have to look at the prize. Following the death of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, the Central Empire's grip loosened. Bengal emerged as an independent, highly functional economic engine. The dense river networks mapping this province fueled an unmatched system of trade. Textiles, agriculture, and raw resources flowed continuously through these waterways, making 18th-century Bengal the wealthiest province in India. It was a massive, breathing treasury that instantly attracted the attention of European merchants. That immense prosperity carried a fatal flaw. The limitless wealth meant to sustain the province acted as a magnet, drawing in foreign traders who arrived seeking profit but eventually stayed to take control. The friction started with a piece of paper. In 1717, the Mughal emperor granted the British East India Company a dostok, a pass allowing them to trade completely tax-free. Company employees quickly abused the system, using the dostok to run their own private businesses without paying local taxes. This extortion severely damaged Bengal's economy and crushed local Indian merchants. When the young Nawab, Siraj-ud-Daulah, took the throne, he drew a hard line. He demanded the British pay their taxes. He grew even more incensed when the company began reinforcing the military defenses of Fort William in Calcutta, openly defying local laws without his permission. The Nawab responded aggressively. He marched a massive army into Calcutta and captured Fort William. During the takeover, dozens of British prisoners were locked in a small, cramped dungeon overnight. By morning, many had suffocated. This event became infamous in Britain as the Black Hole Incident. For the East India Company, the loss of Calcutta and their personnel forced a brutal calculation. They realized they could no longer rely on the goodwill of local rulers. To secure their profit margins, they needed to conquer the government itself. The company dispatched Robert Clive from Madras to retake Bengal. Clive was a pragmatic, ruthless commander. Looking at the Nawab's entrenched forces, he knew a straightforward military assault would be suicidal. This chart lays out the stark reality Clive faced. Siraj-ud-Daulah commanded an army of 50,000 men. The British force consisted of just 3,000 troops. Facing absolute destruction, Clive turned to psychological warfare. Clive found his opening in the Nawab's own ranks. He struck a secret deal with Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of the Bengal army. The terms were simple. If Mir Jafar kept his soldiers out of the fight, the company would place him on the throne. That brings us back to the mango orchard at Plassey. As heavy rains soaked the battlefield, the Nawab's exposed gunpowder was ruined. When the British attacked, Siraj-ud-Daulah looked to his commander for support, but Mir Jafar, controlling 20,000 troops, refused to issue the order to engage. Siraj-ud-Daulah was forced to flee and was soon killed. The East India Company won control of India's richest province with a bribe. Plassey proved that massive empires could be systematically dismantled and bought from the inside, provided you had enough capital. With Mir Jafar installed as a puppet ruler, Clive and his men emptied the Bengal treasury, looting millions of rupees. The extortion was so severe that Mir Jafar couldn't keep up with the demands, prompting the company to replace him with his son-in-law, Mir Qasem. But Mir Qasem refused to play the puppet. He abolished the biased tax system, modernized his military, and formed a massive coalition. He joined forces with the Nawab of Awadh and, crucially, the Mughal emperor himself. On October 22, 1764, this united Indian force met the British at the Battle of Buxar. Despite outnumbering the company troops, the Indian alliance suffered from divided leadership and poor coordination. In contrast, the British forces under Hector Munro operated with strict discipline and a unified chain of command, systematically breaking the coalition lines. While Plassey was secured through backroom deals, Buxar was decided through open, tactical warfare. By crushing the combined armies of the Mughal emperor and two major Nawabs on a conventional battlefield, the East India Company established absolute military and political dominance over the subcontinent. Following the defeat at Buxar, the British forced the Mughal emperor to sign the 1765 Treaty of Allahabad. This granted the East India Company, the Diwani, the legal right to collect all revenues across Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. This created a bizarre, brutal system known as dual government. The British extracted all the wealth directly from the citizens, while the powerless Nawab was left to handle law, order, and public welfare with an empty treasury. This arrangement offered the company absolute power with zero accountability. It operated as a legally sanctioned extortion racket, allowing foreign clerks to drain a nation dry without spending a single penny on its infrastructure or its people. The human cost of this corporate extraction peaked in 1770. As crops failed and famine set in, the East India Company refused to lower its revenue targets. Instead, they raised land taxes and used violent enforcement to extract the final remnants of wealth from starving villages. By prioritizing the bottom line over the lives of millions, the company's total revenue actually increased, while a third of the province's population perished. Governor Warren Hastings officially abolished the dual government system in 1772, but the damage was permanent. The once thriving economic center of India had been reduced to a devastated, impoverished landscape. The infinite wealth extracted from Bengal's ruin served a very specific purpose.
It became the endless war chest the East India Company used to finance its armies, steadily conquering the rest of the Indian subcontinent over the next century. The loss of Indian sovereignty grew from these internal fractures, fragmented leadership, and divided loyalties that allowed a foreign corporation to buy a nation from the inside out.